Hello YouTube, I'm finally back from my almost 6-week holiday and today I come to you to talk about the dragon that worked for Tiber Septim during the Second Era. But before we begin, I want to say that at the end of this video there's some important information on the channel's future and I asked for your opinion there. So I won't bore you with it here before the video, but do keep watching if you're interested in the future of the channel. With that said, let's kick off with the video, and it feels very good to say that again after 6 weeks. So as I said before, today I will be talking about the dragon Largus, the large red dragon who served Tiber Septim during his conquests and who was described as the jewel of the imperial crown. He is the first dragon to ever appear in an Elder Scrolls series game. To be specific, he appeared in the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, where the protagonist Cyrus had to fight him to obtain a special soul gem that the dragon was tasked with guarding. His name in the dragon language is meaningless as far as we know. This could either be because we know too little of the words of the language, or because this wasn't his name and it was just a nickname given to him, or an alias he used. As Largus does not really seem to be a dragon name. However, I asked my friend Nerddragon, who is an expert in the dragon language, and he told me that it's likely that if this is his full dragon name, it's probably either pronounced like this in the dragon language, Naf al Ilargus, or pronounced like Naf Alilar Gus, as each name in the dragon language is basically made up of 3 words. Most of those words don't really mean anything. Naf has a meaning of the, but the rest of the words don't have a meaning as far as we know, but it could be that that's just the fact that we know too little about the dragon language itself. However, we might actually know his actual dragon name, even if we don't know the meaning behind it still, but his actual dragon name might be Nafalar. This was the name of a dragon that made alliances with mortals in order to protect himself from the Dragon Guard in the early Second Era. This dragon allied himself with various kings and lords, with his last alliance being the King of Wayrest in the year 369 of the Second Era. This alliance with the King of Wayrest ended under the pressure of the Dragon Guard, after which the dragon fled, never to be seen again. But then, a little over 500 years later, another dragon who is called Largus appears in historic records, who lends his strength to Tiber Septim in exchange for treasures, describing himself as a mercenary who worked for the Emperor. This all leads me and most of the community to believe that these two dragons are one and the same, and that the true name of Largus is in fact Nafalar. This is because the names are quite similar and the actions of both dragons are quite similar, as they both align themselves with mortals. And we know that dragons are basically immortal, meaning that those 500 years between the appearances of Nafalar and the appearance of Largus is basically nothing for a dragon. That said, there isn't really a great amount of lore on Largus, as most that we know about him is confined to the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard. We know that the dragon served Tiber Septim as a soldier in exchange for gold during his conquests, and that he helped him conquer Tamriel. We don't actually know in which battles he was used, however we do know that he was always a sort of last resort for Emperor Tiber Septim. He only sent Largus in battle when he really needed a little bit of extra pressure or really needed to have something saved really quickly. One battle, for example, that we know he took part in was the naval battle of Stros M'Kai, in which Tiber Septim sent Largus to aid his commander Lord Richten. In this battle against the navy of the Crown's faction, he really wanted to crush the navy. And in this battle, Largus apparently did great damage to the Crown's fleet and even destroyed the ship their leader, Prince Ator, was on in a single breath of fire. Largus was then ordered to remain on Stros M'Kai after this battle, and that's where we basically find him in the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, because he was there to aid Lord Richten. The dragon was to guard the soul gem that contained the soul of Prince Ator for Lord Richten. It was here in the catacombs that were filled with the gold that he was given for his services, where he was defeated by Cyrus, the protagonist of the game. After his defeat, his body did not actually disintegrate. This indicated 1, that Cyrus was not a dragonborn, and 2, it left the possibility for Largus to be resurrected by Alduin during the Dragon Crisis in the 4th Era, or resurrected in some other time period. Although I doubt that Alduin ever ventured to Stros M'Kai, but we might actually hear of Largus again in some future. While the dragon itself had passed, his deeds however were not forgotten in the Septim Empire, as there was apparently a ballad written about him and Tiber Septim and his actions. But by the time of the 4th Era in Skyrim, that ballad wasn't very popular anymore. We can hear this in some cut dialogue with Sven, the bard from Riverwood, who mentions that there used to be a ballad about Tiber Septim and the dragon Nephili Largus, but that he never really bothered to learn it since people aren't really interested in it anymore. A final interesting tidbit about the dragon is that in some unofficial out-of-game text it said that the treasure had caused Nephili Largus' downfall and that he was much greedier and significantly less intelligent than other dragons. Where exactly his love for treasure came from or why he was less intelligent is never really explained to us, unfortunately, but it's most likely that at the point of his appearance in the series, Bethesda wasn't really sure which way to go with the dragons and they just gave him a sort of stereotypical dragons love gold kind of attitude. All in all, I quite like the story of Nephili Largus, especially since it allows me to talk about something else than the main line Elder Scrolls games for once in a while. I mean, especially an obscure one like Elder Scrolls Redguard's always fun, because I don't really get to talk about them very often. That said, I did a video on the story of Elder Scrolls Redguard back in year 2 of the channel. It's a bit less in terms of vocal quality than my current content, but it's still worth the watch if you're curious about the story. That said, I really hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I allow everyone to click away now if you're not interested in the channel update. So, like right now. Alright, so a while ago I posted a poll asking you guys if I should do some non-Elder Scrolls related content on the channel. A definite majority was in favor of it and I respect that. However, I also respect the fact that over 30% of the audience was against it. That's still a significant number of people that are against this idea, so I propose a compromise. As I already said, I just continue with at least one weekly Elder Scrolls lore video, but on the side, completely at random, I can do some one-shots of other series. For example, I do one video on the Wolfenstein series' lore, and then a few months later something on the Legend of Zelda series' lore. And maybe a few weeks after that something on Fallout. And so on. Like completely random, non-scheduled, far in between and supplemental to regular lore videos, never replacing them in the schedule. How does that sound? Like, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments, as I'm genuinely curious and I don't want to, like, antagonize anyone of my current audience, especially since this is first and foremost an Elder Scrolls lore channel. So, let me know. That said, I hope that you did enjoy this regular lore video on Nephili Largus. If you did, then I recommend subscribing and clicking the bell icon if you're still here and you're somehow new here. So you know when more lore videos like this one gets dropped, or watch some of my immense backlog of other lore videos, since it's getting a little bit out of hand over here. Before I close this video, allow me to thank my top patrons Bernardo Binda, Metalloid1v1, Hayden Barnes and Gabriel Binda, and of course all the other amazing people here on screen. You guys are the absolute best. That said, I will see you all in the next lore video next Thursday. Bye bye. Hello YouTube, and welcome to a short video on ice raids. This video was more or less inspired by my video on Wisp Mothers that was uploaded earlier, as after that I got curious of what lore there might be on ice raids. That said, I think I said enough. Let's just get right into the video. Ice Raids are one of those enemies that made their first appearance in the Elder Scrolls series by the time of Skyrim. However, they've existed in lore for far longer, as the first edition of the Pocket Guide to the Empire makes mention of them in the Skyrim section. In this section it stated that young Nords go out into the mountains for weeks on end to hunt the mighty Ice Raids. They do this to be recognized by their communities as worthy members of the community, and become worthy citizens of Skyrim. It's even mentioned in the making of Skyrim that the Ice Raids was one of the first enemies that they thought of, since it was one of the first enemies of Skyrim that they knew of in lore, and that they had to imagine in a certain way. As the only piece of lore prior to Skyrim of the Ice Raids was that young Nords would go into the mountains to fight them. We don't really see this phenomenon happening anywhere in Skyrim, except for when you join the Stormcloaks, when Gelmar wants you to prove yourself as a hardened warrior by defeating an Ice Wraith. He tells you that this is how many men have tested their mettle for ages, meaning that this custom is still being practiced to this day. A fact which is also backed up by a conversation with Maurice Aravel, a Dunmer merchant. Understandably, many people don't really have a struggle with this test, as long as you have some skill. As in the Herbane's bestiarity, ice wraiths are basically described as quite simple-minded creatures that are fast, but that aren't too smart, and some technique combined with brute force and a good weapon would be enough to fell one of the beasts. The author even mocks the more Nordic tradition of fighting the ice wraiths by boasting how he defeated 2 of them with general ease himself. But it doesn't really matter how easy to defeat they are, what we care about is what they are. The bestiary describes them as lucid serpentine creatures consisting of magic that seem to be conjured from Skyrim's frozen land itself. This is mostly confirmed by Synod researcher Lynette Verlaine, who states that ice wraiths are just elemental manifestations that arise out of Nirn, that innately wield the power of their elements, in this case ice, as they are ice wraiths. This also makes sense because ice wraiths have the unique ability to hide in the ice and snow by more or less fusing with it, making them invisible for a short while. However, because they are named ice wraiths, with wraith being a synonym for ghost, some people have theorized that these creatures are in fact lost spirits who manage to get fused with the ice, or that they might be Daedric in origin, in the same way that people theorize that Sprigans are to be Daedric in origin. Especially that last theory has been made because of their similarities to Sprigans. They wield the power of their element, and they tend to lurk around and protect significant places. Other than serving as an initiation ritual for young Nords, the ice wraiths are also very attractive to both alchemists and people dealing with fresh products, because when you grind up fresh ice wraith teeth, it can be used as an extremely powerful preservative ingredient that can keep vegetables and meat cold for a limited time. However, I don't know how prevalent this thing is across Tamriel, as it seems to be a relative butcher's secret, so it might only be known to a few butchers and traders. Next to that, the teeth of ice wraith are also very powerful as an alchemical ingredient that's quite rare to come by, because of the method to obtain them, because it includes slaying the beasts themselves. And finally, the thing that we know is that an encounter with them can get you witbane, a disease which can lead to memory loss and can lead to intelligence being lowered. And that's basically all that we know about ice wraiths. I hope that you enjoyed this short video. If you did, consider sticking around for the next one next Thursday and clicking the bell icon so you know when it gets dropped. In addition to that, allow me to thank my top patrons Bernardo Binda, Hayden Barnes, Gabriel Binda and Sam Campling. They, along with the other people on screen right now, are the people that make these videos possible. That said, I will see you next Thursday in another lore video. Bye bye.